organisations, large and small, are important to Birmingham. You know, they add to the economy, they add to the whole cultural life of Birmingham. And I myself, I am passionate about the whole art scene in Birmingham. Now today, we've given approval for almost £8 million worth of funding to the arts in Birmingham. That is more than double what the Greater Manchester whole area give for their arts organisations. So that shows how important they are to Birmingham. I didn't come to politics to have to, reduce funding. This is one of those days you don't like having to do. But unfortunately, mindful of the national financial crisis, we've had to make a 17% reduction in our funding to the arts. Now that's in line with the reductions nationally. But what we're trying to do is be as pragmatic as possible. So we've been in discussions with the art organisations, looking at how we can make that squeeze so that no organisations collapse, so that they, hopefully, members of the public will see no difference. So, for example, the small art organisations, we've actually increased the money that's available to them by £15,000. Haven't cut it, we've increased it, because we know how important the small organisations are. With the major organisations like the CBSO, the Royal Ballet Company, we have again been in discussions with them, looking at where there's opportunities to make efficiency savings, and also looking at what other funding that they get. Because don't forget, they don't just rely on Birmingham City Council funding. They get money from the Arts Council, from ticket sales, also from various grants that are available direct from the government or trusts. So we've been very careful and looked at what they've done. We haven't done across the board 70% cuts. Some have had more than others, so that they can still, keep running and hopefully, get through this financial crisis completely intact. That is our objective. That's what we're working on. Now, with regards to the small organisations, for several years now, many of them have had revenue funding, but we've had complaints from many organisations who do fantastic work out in the community that they can't access this. So we're going to change the way we fund the smaller organisations, where we'll have a project pot, which they can then, we've got a criteria of the kind of things we're looking for, which, things which are of benefit to the residents of Birmingham, which they can tap into. So that opens up funding to all the organisations, small organisations in Birmingham, not just to the few. And also for some who meet our criteria, they'll probably end up with more funding. And can I just say, overall, for the smaller organisations, there is now more funding, £15,000 more than in previous years.
And having listened to affected organisations, you are introducing transitional funding.
Yeah, we're introducing transition funding because, a few weeks ago, we were just going to go straight on the 1st of April into a project pot. I've had a meeting with them last week. They've explained their concerns. We've listened to that. So what we're going to do is have a transitional fund. So half of what the revenue funding they had last year. So again, no cuts. It's 6 months funding to help them get through this period, and they'll still be able to apply from funding that's in the project pot.
Finally, looking ahead to 12 months from now, what position will we be in then?
Well, I don't want to speculate, but we are working on that, because as people know that, it's nationally the cuts will get deeper for the next 2 years. We are already working on that, and what we're trying to do is, especially for our major organisations, try and get private sponsorship, link them up with companies that fit in with their image, and then use that money to help keep, spread that money strategically, so that hopefully this year, we can hold the gate, hold our funding at this year's level, so that it doesn't go any deeper. And that's what we're working on now, because I can emphasise, I'm passionate about the arts. I take no great joy in reducing anyone's funding, so we're trying to be as pragmatic as possible to keep our arts organisations going and long term improve them.